You and I talked about Robert Downey Jr. and Chaplin. Do you want to talk about that screen test a little bit?
Oh boy, what a test. I don't know that everybody knew that he was a student of Chaplin, but we did. And there was a test that we did with him, and a number of guys tested, but when he did the test, he did a backwards flip when he left the stage. And the money people, the producers, and the director just went, ah. He was perfect, and we knew he was. And we had followed his career. We had helped him. We had put him in a number of pictures. And we just knew the picture he had done just before Chaplin, I believe Warner Brothers had to pay $800,000 for the insurance to make sure he was going to be a good boy. He's a very good boy, and today a great star.
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's just something that over the time that we spend with these actors over the years, that you really knew that information and gave him this opportunity. Because he had starred in some films and was a supporting actor in a lot of films and hadn't ever done a period film. He'd never really carried the lead. I mean, this was a big risk. It was a big budget at the time. It was $30 million. That was huge. That was a huge risk.
It was a big budget, and of course the studio had to take a chance on somebody because there wasn't a name who could play Chaplin. And so when they saw that test, it was the clincher. It did it. When one has a very wonderful director, I've been blessed, and Jane and I were blessed. We got to work with so many phenomenal directors, and not the least of which is our friend who is here. I think he's still here, Norman Jewison. And Chaplin just turned out to be an amazing film.
Yeah, well done. And the other thing we were going to talk about is the art of the ensemble cast. Because we're looking for that seamless combination of actors that will work together as a unit, and while each being completely distinct in their own way. And I think one of the finest examples of that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, that cast is spectacular.
Well, when you're in the casting office and you get you really find actors who you can't do anything with. They come in, you meet them, they talk to you, and they go away, and you maybe don't see them again. But something about them you remember, and the characters that we were able to put into that film, we remembered. And that's the joy of being a casting director, is to meet all of these different people. And they bring such wonderful, wonderful abilities to the screen. You don't really know what those abilities are, but you feel something when they come in the room. And that's the thing. People have asked me, well, what makes a casting director? I don't know. Taste? Sure, we all talk about taste. But what makes a casting director is learning that little tiny, that's something that the actor who has just come into your room has. You can't bottle it. You can't sell it. You can't even describe it. But you know.
You know it.
Yeah. And we were fortunate. We were at a time, today, David Rubin and I were speaking a couple of weeks ago, and we were saying today a good casting director supposedly is supposed to know 100,000 actors. Well, that's nuts. But when Jane and I were working together, we probably knew 3,500 or 4,000 actors. And the good news is they weren't all stars. They weren't all leading players. They were the secondary people who made the pictures work. Because it's the secondary people. I think that it was said earlier that the stars really get cast by the studio, by the director, by the producer, because the studio needs to put a name in their product so they can get the money back. So sometimes it's not the star who makes the movie, it's the fulfilled cast. It's all those secondary players, and they have to work.
Yeah. And then there was Louise Fletcher.
Ah,
And she was probably the second lead in the film, and she came out of nowhere. I mean, she had done some small parts and worked back, but that woman still gives me the chills.
oh yeah.
I mean, that's a performance unlike, I mean, it's, when she walked through the door, you must have been, thank God.
Well, we were as normal, and I don't know that everybody in the audience will know this, but when we set out to cast the second role in a motion picture, the studio is saying, okay, well, let's go for X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z are all the big name women of the age and who have the ability to play the role. Well, they're not always available, or they don't want to do the picture. And then you get gold, you get diamonds, you get something magical. And
something that no one expected.
no
No.
one expected. And our ex-partner Fred Roos had talked about Louise to me, and he was right, and she was right, and she read, and she just knocked our head. Oh, she was phenomenal, and she was in the picture.